our ElseWords this week is the title for this is basically "This is fuel for Corey to do a rant." So I'm going to say the headline. Yeah,
I'm very easygoing.
I voted moderate.
I voted Kodos.
Yeah, but this is Marvel is doing a quote unquote fresh start with a line-wide overhaul. Now, before Corey shares his 2 cents, I'm going to give mine. I feel like Marvel overstepped with the whole doing the legacy numbering, and that they went too far. So to look at DC and how, because DC could have done with on their comic book side, Batman back to original numbering, Superman back to original numbering. They could have done all these characters back to the comic books back to original numbering. Instead, they did 2. They did their big 2.
The ones that are getting to number 1,000.
Yes.
Which of course you would.
Yeah. But at the same time, I mean, because any of those big high number books, that's a pretty big feat. Yet Marvel didn't do that with Daredevil. Daredevil didn't go back to original numbering. In fact, it silently had, a milestone. I think it was 600th issue. Same thing with the Flash, over on DC. They didn't do that because that's 300 issues, let alone, 1,000 is impressive. But I feel like, Marvel sort of overdid it with numbering on a lot of them, and it makes sense on some, like Captain America, Spider-Man.
But the numbering was symbolic of what they were trying to do. The whole thing of Marvel Legacy was they were trying to get back to the basics and the most recognizable versions of their characters. Mm-hmm. And what it feels more to me like is that this is still a Marvel struggling to decide what direction it's trying to go in. Are we the Marvel that is introducing new versions of characters that are trying to make a more inclusive universe so that we have Hulk and Thor and Iron Man and all the other white guys you've seen since the 50s, but we also have an Ironheart and we have Sam Wilson and we have Miles Morales and all these other things? Or are they the ones who backed off and said, well, we kind of realized that maybe Nazi Captain America was the wrong way to go, not just in this political environment, but just in general, making any hero that has been worshipped or looked up to by kids for decades suddenly into the most reviled party ever to exist in known humanity. Well, I mean, not necessarily recorded history. We still got Huns. But maybe that was a bad move. It was a bold statement, Cotton, but I don't think it worked out for them. I just see it as, oh, we're going to do this and give you all your original numbering back. And, oh, we're going to do this. We're going to bring back all your main heroes. And, oh, we're going to do, oh, wait, that didn't work either. Marvel still is not tanking. It's not like they're a failing company. But when it comes to their comics, they have been struggling to feel relevant to both existing long-term fans and new fans. They don't know which way to turn, and it feels like a rudderless ship. Now, what I will say in regards to that, though, is that they just got new leadership. Mm-hmm. And so what was happening with Legacy and all that stuff was the last push from the guy who was outgoing. Probably didn't know he was outgoing at that time, but Alonso left after all these things were announced if we're going to go back to the original Captain America numbers, and we're going to go back to the original Avenger numbers and stuff. But he's gone. And the new guy in may say, hey, it really does make sense to relaunch with new number ones and new titles and try to do something that is kind of a mix of, here's Steve and Tony and Odinson in the Avengers, but it's not the Avengers as they originally were. It's a new version of the Avengers. It's still got some new concepts and stuff. You'll get the Avengers 1 million BC, like you mentioned. But we want to encourage new readers to be able to say this is a jumping on point. Yes. I also heard something about the new numbering is going to go side by side with the original numbering, which is something that I kind of felt like should have existed all along. Mm-hmm. When Superman in the 90s and maybe even the early 2000s was running, and there were 4 Superman books. There was Superman, there was Man of Steel, there was Action Comics, and there was something else. I don't know, Clark Kent's Day Off. what they did is each of those titles had their regular original numbering, but then on the covers underneath that, there would be a little diamond that would say the number of that week of the year. So like number 48, number 49, even though they're going through 4 different titles, because those titles all like were one continuing story. So you knew which order to read them in, and when the next one started up, you would have a new number 1 or whatever. That made a certain degree of sense. If you treat comics like seasons, like you would a TV series, you get a new number 1 every season. But it doesn't eliminate the fact that it's actually number 62 of the whole series. So it's like Daredevil season 12. It's actually Daredevil 298, but it's the beginning of the new season. They probably wouldn't time it like that, but you get what I'm saying.
Well, no, yeah, because Titan Comics does something similar to that with Doctor Who. They do,
and it makes sense.
They've got what? I think they got 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th Doctors, and then like year 1, 2, 3 as it goes along.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer does it in seasons because it came from TV. But I don't think it has. Yeah, it doesn't have legacy numbering because it doesn't need to. It doesn't have that long-term stuff. This is a way that would please both the long-term fans and the new fans, or potential new fans. I don't have a big issue with it. My big issue is this the one that they're actually going to go fully into? Or is it going to be another 3 months and then second-guessing themselves and relaunch everything yet again? Because it's been too many fucking times at the trough for Marvel over the last 10 years at least. Yeah. It's just like over and over and over again. It's like, oh yeah, here's 1,000 fucking Deadpool spinoffs that nobody could have fucking possibly wanted or asked for. And I'm not saying none of them were good, but they were really unnecessary. It was just such a fucking cash grab that didn't take. Nobody wanted to see it. Nobody gave a shit about it. You've broken up teams right when they were really hot. The Young Avengers team had its first couple of collections, and then it's like, well, let's fuck with the Young Avengers and break them up and team up with the Runaways, which also we're going to break up that team, and then we're going to put them in this other book where we're going to kill half of them. It's just like, it's just so mentally missing the point of what fans want out of their stories. And I'm not saying that the people who made those books didn't make good quality books. I'm saying that for the fans of those characters, it's not what they were looking for. I got maybe some good stuff out of this idea that I didn't like. It's quality characterization and stuff, but really, did you need to do this? Or could you not have given me just a really solid Young Avengers title?
So I look at this and because I'm looking at the picture. I haven't seen the video. The video features, the Marvel editor-in-chief, CB Cebulski, talking about what they've got planned, and the video feature, or the picture that they show, features art by
Wait, that's CB Cebulski? I'm confused. I thought he was Asian.
The person who is Asian is the one who did the art. That is Jim Chung.
Jim Chung, who I'm a huge fan of.
Yeah,
huge fan of his art.
So some of the cool things that we see here is there are, if my eyes are correct, there are 5 newer creation characters in there, and I'm including Captain Marvel in that because this is Carol Danvers under that role, not Marvel, people who were created, within the past, 10, 15 years on here. But the one that
Carol Danvers has been around since I was a kid.
Yes, but she existed as Carol Danvers, Miss Marvel, Binary. As Captain Marvel, she is still new because she's only been there for about, I think, 12 years, I want to say.
Yeah, not really new when you talk about it. And I think she's even been on the Avengers a few times as Captain Marvel as well.
No, as Ms. Marvel.
No, I think she's been on the Avengers team as Captain Marvel.
No, she has, but she's been on there more as Ms.
Oh, maybe.
And not. Because she was still wearing the swimsuit with the thigh-high boots and the
sash.
Yeah, the sash and all that. But then the other thing that interests me is because right now with what we're getting from Jason Aaron over on, with the Mighty Thor, we don't see Jane Foster's Thor on here. But with the Thor, we don't see him with the original Mjolnir. We see him with a golden Mjolnir.
And a golden arm.
Yeah, and a golden arm. So that to me is big right there.
The Man with the Golden Arm is the worst Bond movie ever because it's just basically really cold hand jobs the entire time.
Other things that I'm excited to see because it seems like they've played their part. You got the younger Wolverine in here. Surprisingly, because I mean, I don't know. We might see it change if the Fox deal goes through. You only see the Thing in here. You don't even see Johnny Storm. You only see the Thing on this picture. And
the Thing is very iconic, and it's not.
And Johnny Storm's
not to the same degree, because there are so many fire characters at this point that it's my problem with the Fantastic Four is really that in some ways their power sets are not interesting.
Yeah.
And you have to lead with what makes them special. And when they came out and the space race stuff and everything else, that was really cool then. But now it's just like, if you've seen a power set mocked more than anything else in comics, it's somebody who makes fire or catches on fire. And then you have the opposite of someone who turns to ice. But it's so much like, here's my fire guy. In every superhero video game, that's one of the first base power sets that you know is going to be in there, is someone who lights shit on fire. And because we've got Ghost Rider in there and we got his chains blazing, it doesn't make sense to double represent in that.
Yeah. Okay. Gut reaction right now. And I know you are not a comic book reader, but do you think this will be I don't want to say the final time, but do you think
I think this will have a long-term?
Yes.
It's up to the creators. It is really up to the creators to go out there and put their all into it and sell a good story and not just do it for the hype, but do it for the character.
Yeah.
You know, if I am a Bruce Banner Hulk fan, are you going to give me an actual Bruce Banner Hulk story and something that's going to compel me to read it month after month? Because the Hulk story has been around for so long. Yes, it's what we say that we want because we love the original, but it's kind of like that first fucking heroin shoot up. Mm-hmm. And as every time after that, you're just trying to chase that original buzz. It's never going to be that good again. And it's just the same thing over and over and over. So the only way to make Hulk interesting is to break him down, break him apart, put someone else in the role. But then people but I don't want this guy. I want Banner. So how do you make Banner interesting again? What they're doing with the Punisher right now in the Thanos comic is he is Ghost Rider of space. Have you seen this?
No. So can
you think of something so far away from what Punisher is than making him a spacefaring character and Ghost Rider?
Yeah. No, because I mean, God, you're making me want to read the Thanos comic because first
I hear it's good.
Yes, I've heard it's good. I've heard it's good too. You know, because what I was going to say is they have the creators there. You know, because you've got Jason Aaron, you know, who's been with Thor since before Thor lost his arm. You know, so he's been writing Thor for, about 10 years now. And he's going to be doing the Avengers. You got Donny Cates, who's, you know, doing Venom, who's doing Thanos, you know, and is doing this version of you know, Space Punisher, who's also Ghost Rider and all that. Because right now the only Punisher book I'm reading is the Matthew Rosenthal, where he's in the War Machine armor. You know, that's the only...
Which again...
Yeah.
Like, and that's the thing is Punisher. What do we do with Punisher? He's a guy with a gun who's after the people who killed his family, blah, 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 blah. And it's, well, I guess we make him War Machine, or I guess we make him Captain America, or I guess we make him Ghost Rider. In the Marvel Knights days, they made him a ghost. They killed him, and then he haunted apparitions and stuff. And again, there are the fans who are like, that is not my Punisher. Frank Castle is this, and he should only ever be this. That's great. But then how many years are you going to read that character who doesn't have growth, who doesn't have change, just be the same thing over and over and over again?
And that's where, honestly, to stick with the Punisher, I like what they've done with him so far. With him in this War Machine armor, because it was set up as a really simple thing. A white Nick... Was it the white Nick Fury? I think... No, it was young Nick Fury. It was Nick Fury Jr. Goes, I want this back. You know, it just says, I want from this vault, because Shield's been disbanded and all that stuff in the universe right now. And at the end of the page, we just see Frank basically go, nope, and fly off within the War Machine armor. The great thing that I've seen, with Becky Cloonan doing him, all these people, but what I've seen that's cool with all these other, writers doing it is it's not just he's killing for killing's sake. He is doing this because these people are bad, sort of deal. And that's what I like more than anything else, with him.
Yeah, one of the big challenges with this stuff is that anytime you see a big throwout of like all these characters come bounding off the page and up at you and everything, it's a huge poster of we own great characters. But it's a promise of you're going to be excited to read these books. And they've been failing to deliver on that for a while. And I know that the people that are working at Marvel are capable of great storytelling. I just feel like something isn't clicking, and it's maybe the event fatigue, which has been constantly talked about for decades. But it seems like there's never that break of we're not doing any more events. But DC does that too. DC's like, hey, we're gonna give you this whole new rebirth thing, and it's gonna get us back to basics. But at the same time, it's all gonna hinge on this shit with the Watchmen for no fucking reason at all. It's like we can't just give you a great Superman book. It's like we have to give you a great Superman book, but behind the scenes is this bullshit that makes no sense.
Yeah,
and Beatmaster's pointing at and Promethea.
Yeah, I'll give you this part here. I think what makes this successful is Marvel doing a good balance. So not doing huge, massive events, but like they just did with Spider-Man and Venom, where you had Venom Inc., where you had, it was just between the Venom comic and Amazing Spider-Man. Or with, actually with Resurrection of Jean Grey. You had that with the Jean Grey story where it started in the Jean Grey comic, which had its own little thing with a bunch of the other psychics from the X-Men, then went to this and then wrapped up in Jean Grey and all that.
Goes right into X-Men Red.
Yeah. And they're doing events still, but it's not, well, let's pull in everyone. It's more like little mini events. Like this is the Guardians and Nova.
Right. And the Guardians is one of those things that has suffered a lot because they keep banking on it to be this high-selling book, and they keep reinventing it every 5 to 6 months, and constantly like, oh, well, now we're going to involve this other character with the Guardians. It makes no sense. Why is Ant-Man in fucking space? And I'm not saying it's not done well. Again, I'm not saying that it's not fun to read. I'm just saying that what Marvel has right now is an opportunity, and that opportunity is characters that are more recognizable now than they have ever been.
Yeah.
Spider-Man has always been huge for them. Mm-hmm. X-Men certainly went through a big recognizability in the 90s. I'd argue that right now the X-Men are the redheaded stepchild of the Marvel Universe because the movies haven't been in their control. They've always been kind of unrecognizable from the comics, and they're just frankly not very good selling points to get people over to the comic. But you talk about an Iron Man or a Thor or even a Captain America, who was once a huge character, especially during the wartime, they were not as well known as a Superman or a Batman or even a Wonder Woman. Now they are.
Yeah.
And to take those characters and to shelve them to replace them with other legacy characters feels like such a huge missed opportunity. What I like is just give us both. You're fucking putting out 1 billion goddamn books a month anyways. Just give us both. Give us a legacy book or legacy brand of series of a Captain America that's like the movies, a Iron Man that's like the movies, a Thor that's like the movies, a Guardian that's like the movies, but do it in such a way that they are equally as good, as strong of storytelling as what you would get in the regular Marvel universe. But don't call it Ultimate. Don't make Ultimate and just make it all fucking weird to make it weird, Mark Miller. Do it because it distills the essence of what this character is, and that will bring along Yeah, some people will be like, well, it doesn't count because it's this other thing. Sure, then you don't have to read it. But look how it worked out for the Ultimate Universe. People did read it, and people found the most love in the Ultimate Spider-Man book because it was the most in tune with what a modern-day storytelling of Spider-Man would be. Do that with this whole group of books that are existing in this universe. They do it with the cartoons, and I think it's probably the only reason people watch the cartoons, because they're really not that good. Marvel's cartoons have not landed where DC's cartoons have been.
True.
But it's still a possibility. And then have your secondary mainstream Marvel Universe stuff where you can have all your crossovers and introduce a whole bunch of new characters and legacies and stuff like that. And if you need to be really labely, you can call it Earth 1 or Earth 2 or 616 and 989 because 7 wasn't filling enough. It just, like, whatever you need to do, but understand that the reason these characters have existed and thrived for so long is because there was something there to each of them that was important, that was instilled in and mattered. And to ignore it is at your own detriment. And I think that's what Marvel has lost. It's like, oh, we're gonna have the X-Men fight the Avengers. Why? It doesn't have to make sense. It's just cool to have them all bashing each other all the goddamn time. It's really not that cool.
Yeah.
It's fun for a minute of like, it's the same thing as like, what if Superman fought the Hulk in the back of the classroom and stuff when the teacher's not looking? We all had those conversations, but it's only interesting for a second, and then the answer and you're done. It can't be fucking 10 years of it,
I had this conversation on Super Fight.
And your character's not being interesting anymore. Your character's not being relatable anymore. Like, Cyclops is dead now, but Cyclops was a fucking dick for 5 years, and it made no sense for his character. You had Cyclops of all fucking people kill Professor Xavier. Mm-hmm. It didn't make any sense for who these characters are, so it just destroys them to destroy them. That's not fun.
For more on this Galactic Network podcast, go to gncast.com. That's GNCASTS.com.